got now the great pleasure to introduce Nick Laird. Nick Laird is a lawyer, a poet, a novelist, and a critic from County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. His collections of poetry are To a Fault from 2005 and On Purpose from 2007, of which the actually latter won a 2008 Somerset Maugham Award and the 2008 Geoffrey Faber Memorial Prize. He's also a novelist. His novels include Utterly Monkey, 2005, and most recently just came out, Glover's Mistake, in 2009. We'd like to thank Nick not only for participating, but also for the many, many conversations we've had this summer between New York, Italy, and London, because Nick has also been an advisor to this poetry marathon. A very warm welcome to Nick Laird.
Hello. I have done nothing to do with this at all, so it's very kind of Hans to lie and say I did. I was trying to read something relevant or to do with art, but none of my poems sort of fit that. Some of them mention artists, so I'm gonna start with one of those. It's a love poem called Light Pollution, and it mentions Hockney, but only for a shade of blue. Light pollution. You're the patron saint of elsewhere, jet-lagged and drinking apple juice, eyeing from the 6th floor window a kidney-shaped swimming pool, the very shade of Hockney blue. I know the left-hand view of life, I think, and it's as if I have, of late, forgotten something in the night. I wake alone and freezing, still keeping to my side. Each evening, tidal night rolls in, and the atmosphere is granted a depth of field by satellites, the hammock moon, aircraft sinking into Heathrow. Above the light pollution, among the drift of stars tonight, there might be other traffic, migrations of heron and crane, their spectral skeins, convergent symbols, arrows, weather systems, white flotillas bearing steadily towards the summer feeding, a million flapping sheets. Who knows how they know? The aids to navigation might be memory and landmarks, or the brightest constellations. Perhaps some iron in the blood detects magnetic north. I wish one carried you some token, some post-it note or ticket, some particular to document this instant of self-pity, his Orphic loneliness with dog. Advances, none miraculous, though the deadness of the house will mean your coming home may seem an anticlimax somehow, and a trespass. I mentioned a dog in that poem. I think, as a rule of thumb, you're on a hiding to nothing if you write a poem about your dog, but I've written a poem about my dog. She's a pug called Maud. In case you're not sure what a pug is, that's the dog you're not supposed to get because they can't really breathe properly. And you spend your whole time wondering if she's having a great time or if she's having a fit. On the plus side, she does look a bit like a cross between E.T. and an Ewok. Pugs are kind of a venerable history, a very ancient dog. Bed warmers for the Chinese emperors. And a pug saved William of Orange's life, which as a Northern Irish Protestant interested me. The painter Hogarth kept them, so Hogarth mentioned in this poem. There's a word in here that's slightly unusual. It's called karumi, which is a Japanese word. It means lightness of touch. They always use it when they talk about haikus, karumi. The poem's in 3 short parts, 3 sonnets. Pug. Bruiser, Batface, Baby Bear, bounce in your moon suit of apricot fur with some fluff in your mouth or a twig or a feather. Emperors bored you with the prize-winning ears, who grew from a glove to a moccasin slipper and have taken to secrecy recently, worming in under the furniture. To discover you here is to keep still and listen. The settee begins wheezing. Hogarth loved the fact that for your first half year, you hardly differed from a rabbit. When you're overexcited, you tend to get hiccups. but your weapon of choice is the sneeze. You squeak when you yawn and your tongue is unfurled in a semicircle, salmon pink on coastal rock, that trilobite embedded in the slate roof of your open mouth, perfect for the mascot of the House of Orange. Above the winter garden, a hair-thin moon reflecting. You are open as a haiku, all karumi, hint and sigh. The Buddha would have liked you. Watch us from your separate dream, then pad across to clamber through the plastic flap and plant your paws four square again on grass like this. Your hackles bristle and you ridge your back and bark and bark and bark at shadows and the fence, at everything behind the fence, the cuttings and the railway foxes. I read that poem once at a festival before the second book came out, and a lady approached me afterwards and said, my husband is the pug judge at Crufts, and he also runs a thing called the Pug Dog Club Bulletin, and would you mind, could we have it for the bulletin? So I was delighted. So it meant that in the acknowledgements for my second book, I get to put thanks to the editors of Agony, Poetry Review, Times Literary Supplement, the London Review of Books, and the Pug Dog Club Weekly Bulletin, which I think I'm the only person. Anyway, two short poems. This is called The Present Writer. The Present Writer. A kitchen moon, the ocean night, by the sink, the purest thing that I can think is sitting, like the ghost of a lighthouse in Atlantic mist, a full glass of skimmed milk. The wind outside is tugging at the rigging of clematis and the filled mast of the apple tree. We are in bed, 2 by 2, and side by side as animals, bowsprit, top castle. Love, I turn for you, clean living, relinquish drinking, fighting, singing. The ghost can only long in man. You were asleep but talking. Which way to the good? At the next wet, we sail forth. I read a poem called Cut-ins. It's the first poem in the first book. It's the problem with these readings is you always want to say what the poem's about. So this poem is about the possibilities of tenderness in a militarized society. Anyway, it's about a barber's shop I used to go to when I lived at home. Cut-ins. Methodical dust shades the combs and pomade, while the wielded goodwill of the sunlight picks out a patch of paisley wallpaper to expand leisurely on it. The cape comes off with a matador's flourish and the scalp's wash to get rid of the chaff. This is the closeness casual once in the trenches, and as deft as remembering when not to mention the troubles or women or prison. They talk of the parking or carving or missing, a beige lino, a red barber's chair, one ceramic brown sink and a scenic wall calendar of the glories of Ulster, sponsored by J.B. Crane Hire or some crowd flogging animal feed. About, say, every second month or so, he will stroll and cross the widest street in Ireland and step beneath the bandaged pole. Eelmen, gunmen, the long dead, the police, and my angry and beautiful father, tilted, expectant and open as in a deck chair outside on the drive, persuaded to wait for a meteor shower, but with his eyes budded shut, his head full of lather and unusual thoughts. I'll read a poem. This is a sort of another somber poem. I thought I'd read it because I think it's probably about art and life, even though that sounds terribly grand. But it's I was reading diaries of one of the first guys who went into Belsen, and it's from that. So it's written in terza rima, so it kind of loops around, and it's like someone applying lipstick, and the poem's about lipstick, which was an incident in Belsen that happened. Anyway, lipstick. Like nowhere on God's earth, this nightmare we'd fought all year to liberate and then couldn't rouse the sleepers from. How could there be an adequate description of that camp? That passage of our lives, the abject horror in which my men and I arrived in April 45. The place was picked clean as a chicken run, and everywhere were corpses, some in piles, some alone or still in pairs, wherever they had fallen. I fear it was some time before one could grow accustomed to the sight of men literally collapsing as one neared and could stop oneself assisting. One had to get one's mind trained to the idea that an individual did not count. That was the thing. One knew 500 souls a day were dying, and that 500 souls a day were going to go on, falling dead for weeks before anything that we could do would have the least effect. But it wasn't easy watching, say, a child choking from diphtheria when one could guess that an instant tracheotomy would probably have saved her. Scores were left to choke and drown in their own vomit because they lacked the strength to turn aside and clear a passage for it. And also dysentery. They squatted out like animals, relieved themselves in the open. I saw a woman washing once, naked, with some general issue soap, and watched her taking water from a cistern in which a baby's body floated. It was hopeless. The Red Cross came, its British arm, and shortly after, it might not be connected, there appeared from somewhere boxes of it, lipstick. This was not what we wanted at all. We were calling for 100, 1,000 other things. I was embarrassed, then enraged. Who had requested this? Its name was printed on the shipment, Everlasting Rouge. Would you believe they thought it was the action of a genius? The internees, when the news, as it always did, got out, began beseeching us for Lippenstift, der Lippenstift. For me, at least, it was the darkest ring of something. Seeing how those women lay with no night dress or sheets, but still that redness on their lips. I saw them wandering, vampiric, red flecks on their teeth, or sat alone, clown-like and lost. Awaiting post-mortem, lipstick in her clutch, I remember one dead on a table. Dispatched to England in the autumn, I found my wife's cosmetics, wrapped them in a parcel, and flung it in the tip. Though I still see that shade at times on hoardings or the high road. Young mums, some skinny girl who's coloured in the colour of her screams. Sorry, that was a bit depressing. I'll finish with the... I don't have any light poems. I'll finish with another poem. This is called The Whole of Medium Harmony. I've never been to China, but I did once read the Lonely Planet Guide, which I thought was enough to appropriate this for a poem. So there's a place called the Hall of Medium Harmony in the Forbidden City in Beijing, and I thought that's just too good. I need to use that. So, in lieu of a Gideon Bible, the bedside table drawer has a Lonely Planet Guide to China and a year-old Auto Trader. You skim through the soft tops, the imports, the salvage and breakers, then pick up the book. Over there, they are 8 hours ahead, so it must be approximately dawn in the Forbidden City, where something might evade the guides already at the entrance, might glide right past the lion dogs on guard, asleep in bronze, might fire the dew on the golden tiles, ignite each phoenix on its ridge, light. 9,999 rooms begin to warm under its palm. Here, in the book, is a diagram. There is the hall of union and peace, the hall of medium harmony, the Meridian Gate, the Imperial Library, the inner golden bridges. You fidget. You are, you admit, one of the Earth's more nervous passengers. But it's different, this. A reasonable space in the palace of an afternoon, a child king hiding in the curtain, listening. For a second apart from the turn of the thing, for a second forgetting the narrative's forfeit, how nothing can outlast its loss, that solace is found, if at all, in the silence that follows each footstep let fall in the black lacquer floor of the now, of the here, of the now, of the here, where you are, in the sunlight, blinking, abroad. Thanks very much.